Okay, if you haven't watched the massive pressure washing series that I did last year in 2019, you can go check that out. But what I've been doing over the last 3 or 4 or 5 months since then is occasionally I'll get a pressure washer that comes across my desk here, and I'll test it out, and we'll add to the spreadsheet. So go to obsessgarage.com, go to For the Obsessed, and then click on the pressure washing spreadsheet, and we have a real pretty looking spreadsheet with my recommendations, with all the data from start to finish of each one of these. I don't know how many is on there, 75 pressure washers or so. This is one that I was missing from the lot. I have a great relationship with AR. We sell the AR613 TSS, and we sell it very specifically. I buy it without all the junk that comes with it, the hose and the gun, so that way people can kit it out, and it saves you $80 or $100 of stuff that you're going to throw away anyway. And so we ordered one of these. This is the AR613, so this would be the entry level from their professional line. And part of the reason why I never carried this in the store is I pretty much know what it is. It's not built the same. It's not the same high-end feel as the 630 is. And this one, everybody's always asking me, test the 613, test the 613. I'm like, well, I already know what it's going to do, but I'm going to answer your question here, and I'll explain to you why I don't think this one makes a lot of sense. It's a good machine, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to save $70 to buy this instead of the 630, and that's why I chose the 630. So let me show you kind of some of the tests here. Again, if you haven't watched the series, you wouldn't have seen all this stuff, but we set up a real simple thing here. At least now I get to do it in the air conditioning because I have a drain right here. And I've already tested this, so I know what it's going to do, which confirmed my gut feeling. But the way we have it set up is I've got a P114 hose bib feeding a 12-foot inlet hose, a couple quick disconnects, and then I just have a generic hose and gun that I had sitting around. The hose and gun really doesn't affect the performance of a machine as long as it's under 100 feet and as long as it's a reasonable 3/8 inch size. So we've got the unloader valve opened all the way up. We've got then the power plug plugged into a little whip here that I have cut open so I can grab AC power, so that way I can pull and test how much amperage I'm drawing. And that's one of the deficiencies of this machine that we're going to run into, is that this is rated for a 15 amp circuit, and it actually has quite a bit of output. But the problem is that when you put the foam cannon on a lot of these machines, it's why the Krensla K1322, the Krensla K1122, when you're using a foam cannon, we always recommend you got to get yourself a 20 amp circuit or it's not going to work. And the AR630 absolutely needs a 20 amp circuit or it's not going to work at all. And so what you'll see here is that this is going to operate fine as long as you don't put a foam cannon on it. And so it works great on a 15 amp circuit, but it doesn't when you put the foam cannon on. So I also have in line, I have a pressure gauge here, and you can usually tell a quality pressure washer will maintain pressure when off. That means that when you pull the trigger, it kicks on immediately and there's no ramp up. A lot of the cheaper electrics, the pressure will drop back through the line, but this obviously is a high quality machine. The plastic surround makes it look super janky and cheap, but this is a good pump. It's a good pressure washer. I would call this, this is kind of like this is like the Mustang of pressure washers. Mustang's a good car. I'd rather have a Porsche, but Mustang's a good deal. Shoot, I owned a GT350, but this is the base Mustang, not the GT350. So if we're putting analogies on our pressure washer. So it's quite a bit louder than the Krensla stuff is. It's actually quite a bit louder than the 630 as well. It's hard for me to quantify because I did all my other testing outside. Well, it's like 97 degrees outside, so I'm sorry. To get that SPL test, I'm not doing it. So I would equate, it's probably 3 or 4 decibels louder than the 630. It's 3 or 4 decibels louder than a Krensla, and a couple of decibels louder than a 630. And so I've sized it with a 4.5 nozzle to get as much flow as possible. The way this works is there's a hole in here. I can kind of look through here and see you, a tiny little hole. And so that size of the hole is called the orifice, and there's an orifice size. And so this particular size is a 4.5 size. I don't know what the 4.5 equates to, but there's a certain amount of millimeter opening, the size of the orifice. And so there's 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, 3.5, and so I have all the nozzles sitting over here on the edge and kind of figuring out. I want to dial in about 1,000 psi with as much flow as possible. And so the bigger I open the hole, the more water I allow it to pass, but the bigger I open the hole, the less pressure I get. And so I'm looking for that happy medium of pressure and flow. And I like about 1,000 psi because then I can take my hand, it's like right on the edge of cutting into it. And the more flow you have, the more it sort of stings you a little bit. But what we could do is we could go put a 2.0 nozzle on this thing and overamp it and get maybe 400 or 500 more psi out of it. But then we're cleaning less. So for a car, we want that happy medium, as much flow as possible, and that target pressure. And again, I just made this up. 1,000 psi is about what I'm looking for. That's what I like. And so, yeah, we're right spot on, right at exactly 1,000 psi. So let me grab my phone and let's do a quick little test. So this is how, very loosely scientific, but this is how I tested every single pressure washer. We have a bucket. I put a whole saw hole in the bucket, and then I'm taking my stopwatch and I'm going to run it for a minute, and then we'll perform the calculation. 8.34 pounds per gallon of water. This bucket weighs 2.3 pounds. And so we're going to subtract out the bucket weight, and then we're going to do the calculation. So 3, 2, 1, go. So right now this machine is drawing 12.3 amps. So we got 12.3 amps, perfectly fine. Would run on pretty much any 15 amp circuit. You can hear me having to yell. This is a pretty loud machine in comparison to a lot of the others. 30 seconds. How many minutes of my life have I stood here and done this? 3, 2, 1, stop. Okay. I already know what this does, but just for your video proof, I'm going to do the same thing. Yeah, 12.3 amps. So you have 19 pounds, 1 ounce. Reset. So let's go. 1 ounce divided by 16 is 0.0625 plus 19 pounds. So 19.0625 pounds minus 2.3 is the weight of the bucket. That's 16.7625 divided by 8.34 pounds per gallon. So that's 2.01 GPM. So that's good, really good. It's actually more output than the 1120. Wait, what did I get in 1122 last time I did it? 1.95. Okay, so the 1122 was this, which is this behind me, which is the Krensla portable, the 1.95, and then what we were around 2.02 on the, what did I get on, what was the 1322? Yeah, so 1.97. So we're within 0.03. So we're roughly the same flow. So this is going to give you the same flow as the Krensla, and it's $600. They're not too bad. So your $600 machine. Actually, if we buy this without this stuff, it's probably only $550. Right? So it's $500 and something. And if you didn't know any better, this is the machine you buy because we just did 2 gallons a minute. It's $400 less than a Krensla. It's a little louder, certainly uglier, but yeah, it does good. If we were doing a drag race, this is actually going to win the drag race at half the money. Not too bad. The problem is foam cannon. And so the reason you would want this over the AR613, because the 630 does 2.3 gallons per minute for 70, 80 bucks more. Right, so I'm going to do it the AR630, and the reason why everybody talks about the 613 is because you can run it on a 15 amp circuit. Well, the problem is I put my foam cannon 1.25 orifice on this, and I'm getting 16 amps. So why would I want a machine that's $50, $80 less? It's louder, it's uglier, and it does 0.3 of a gallon, so it does 15% less flow. It's louder, doesn't look as good, and still needs a 20 amp circuit. Maybe not dedicated, but it needs a 20 amp circuit. So I would buy the 630 because it's a better machine, it's a better pump. And so I don't intend to carry this. This is, again, I don't think those of you who have this, it's a good pump. But you'll find that if you have a really clean, new, modern home, you have a clean, dedicated 15 amp, it'll probably work with a foam cannon on it. It may kick off certain times. But most of the time, you're going to need to go and find yourself at least a clean-ish 20 amp circuit. This circuit isn't dedicated, but I don't think I have anything else on it. Maybe some power strips, and so that with nothing plugged into them. In fact, I think I have an Ego battery charger and a couple of chargers over here, and I'm still able to run the Krenzla. So this draws 16. What does my K1322 draw with the foam cannon? Was it almost 17? So a K1322 draws 16.2 amps. This draws 15.9 when you put and this is a 1.25 millimeter orifice. That's the size of the hole in the foam cannon. So you certainly can't run a 1.1 on this. You'll overamp the machine and cause the life to really hurt the life of it. So you definitely don't want to do that. You also definitely don't want to run your foam cannon like this, like you see every goof on Instagram with their foam cannon on a frickin' 36-inch wand. You want a short gun for that, but I got lazy on you here. So anyway, the foaming of this is appropriate. You'll get plenty of foam. You'll get plenty of output. If you have a dedicated 20 amp circuit, this will work just fine. If you're lucky and you have really clean 15 amp circuit on your house, it'll also probably work okay most of the time. But again, buy the 630. Why would you buy this? That's why I chose the 630. The 630 is just a better machine. It's more stout. The 630 is like a Camaro ZR1. It'll actually leave the Krenzla. It's not as elegant. It's not as nice. It's not as quiet. It's a crankshaft-driven machine, where the Krenzla is a radial axial pump. So I'd still choose the Krenzla. I still choose my 911 over a Camaro. It's not ZR1. It's ZL1. I always get that wrong. But a lot of people, for the money, you buy yourself a Camaro ZL1, you'll be lapping me on the track. So I guess it's preference and how much money you're willing to invest in a pressure washer. But for this, for a few extra bucks, get yourself the AR613 TSS. Don't get the hot version. The hot version doesn't make any sense because the non-hot version will pass 140 degrees Fahrenheit. And your average hot water heater is going to have a really hard time getting you 120 degrees. So there's no reason to pay the extra $50 for the hot version, unless you have a boiler. I don't know of a home water heater passing through plastic pipe is going to get you 180 degrees of water temp. Not that you'd even want to wash that hot anyway. So. Anyway, that's the AR613. I won't be carrying this. We could certainly special order it if you want to. Get it, drop shipped. Actually, probably in the same time as a 630. What I don't want to do is flood you with a big retail store with every single solution. We have a cheap Karcher solution, which sort of cuts the mustard, has a great warranty for $130. Then we have the Comet, which is the all-in-one solution. We have the sort of custom install hybrid AR630, and then we have the the Porsche of pressure washers in the various Krenzlas that I carry. And so I don't want to just try to capture every sale. I want you to be able to choose the right product, choose the one that I would recommend. Same thing with car soap. There's one car soap, which is what we have in here, Adam's car soap. There's one. It's the best one. It's the one I use. So why would I carry 15 of them just to try to capture everybody? So anyway, that's the 613. check out the pressure washer spreadsheet. You'll see it in the link in the description and the card up above. Go to obsessedgarage.com and check that out. Coming soon here in the next month or so, I'm going to be doing a which pressure washer to buy series, and we're going to be doing a Krensla teardown series, or at least a couple of videos of teardown, doing maintenance. We're going to have a maintenance series and a few other pressure washing things. I never intended to become the pressure washing guy. I just want a really high quality pressure washer for washing my car, and I know how difficult it is to figure out what fittings to do, and so that's why I've taken on this project. And to be honest, it's been really profitable for me because a lot of people have that question. So anyway, your support is super helpful for me to continue to share this information with you. So I'm telling you this as a pretty significant AR dealer, and I just think you'd be better off with the 630. That's what I would choose for roughly the same amount of money. Thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. Catch you on the next one.